these passages today so together really beautifully in a way that gives us a gift for the spiritual life that I think periodically it's really important we have contact with. So I'm going to just touch upon each of them very briefly. We hear in Isaiah this beautiful promise that the book of Revelation, the last book of the Bible, will pick up on about God promising to create a new heavens and a new earth. Now, what's important about this is that in Hebrew, there was no word for renewal. So when Isaiah says, I will create a new heavens and a new earth, it doesn't necessarily mean like from scratch, like I'm going to totally wipe out what was and create something totally different, because they wouldn't have had a word for renewal. But when we get to the book of Revelation, Jesus will say, behold, I make all things new. Doesn't mean I make new things. I make all things, meaning that are, I make them new. And so there is this kind of renewal here that our Lord is promising and speaking of. But the question, the fundamental issue of the spiritual life is, of all the things that could use renewal in my life, what is that which is most grave? What is that part of me that I need God to touch, that lives on the deepest level that is out of sorts? Is it the diet that I have to go on? Is it the testosterone that ruined my hairline? Or is there something way more serious in my life? Which brings us to David. David, as you know, is a king and the author of most of the Psalms, waged many campaigns of war. And of all the enemies that he had against the Ammonites and so on and so forth, in David's life, what was the greatest enemy of all? What was the one he had to fight the hardest against, that wounded him the most deeply? It's not Saul. It's not another nation. It's his own sin. And we've heard the stories about how sin ruins David at certain periods of his life. So when we hear the psalm today, which is a psalm expressive of gratitude by David that he has been rescued from his enemies, that God did not allow his enemy to ultimately overwhelm him, that he was at the threshold of death and God restored him back. It's primarily about what's going on in his heart, in his relationship with sin, that God rehabilitates him. I don't think, because we're so used to the gospel of mercy, that we appreciate fully our powerlessness in the face of our own sin and with sin death. And the gift that we have, that we can rush to God and seek his mercy. Because what God achieves in one moment of mercy is greater than when he created the entire cosmos out of nothing. And if we don't understand that, and admittedly, I struggle to understand that, then we don't fully grasp what is happening. And yet at the same time, I know in my own spiritual life, and as a priest who intersects with people in their spiritual life all the time, I also encounter another obstacle, which is, how many times can I go to this well of mercy until the Lord is just going to be like, I give up? How many times am I going to ask him to rescue me from death until he's just going to say, look, you've worn me down? And that brings us to the gospel. This royal official, this Roman, comes to Jesus and says, my son is near death, please heal him. Now think of Jesus' perspective. Jesus knows that his ministry is going to end in death. And he knows that his death, while championed by the religious leaders of his time, is going to be executed by the hands of Roman soldiers and officials. So the very one who is asking him in this moment for mercy is part of the regime who later is going to grab a spear, shove it through his chest, puncture right into his heart, post-death so mercilessly. And what is Jesus' response to that? Because in reality, this is me who's going to sin again today, asking Jesus to have mercy. Jesus' mercy comes so quickly to this Roman soldier, he doesn't even have to visit the home. It's as fast, if not faster, than the moment that that woman grabs the tassel of his cloak, and without even asking Jesus for mercy, it just spills right out of him and heals her of her 12-year hemorrhage. He's so ready for love. He's like a grape on the verge of bursting that at the slightest contact, at the hint of a request, it just explodes and unleashes into the world, into this royal official's life, into that woman's life, into mine. So that once again I would be rescued from the depths, pulled away from death, and be made new like the heavens and the earth that he promised he would refresh and restore. If there is any line that Pope Francis said that is worth writing on our hearts, it is this: God never tires of forgiving us. It is we who too quickly tire of asking for it. And so this Lent, as we're getting close to the end, as we find ourselves marching nearer and nearer to the greatest mysteries of our salvation, enter into the mystery of mercy and with confidence seek him who is bursting to give it to you.